listening to the Punisher Waterfowls The Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market. And Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Union 0430, episode number 69. I got to giggle while I say it. I can't help it. Sorry. We got a great show. Mark shaking his head. We got a great show for you tonight. We've got Josh from St. Lawrence Outfitters on with us tonight. A local guy. So really great to finally have someone on that's local to us. We love all our guests, but it's great to have somebody on local. Phil is on the road. Ryan's away. Mark's outside the nation's capital. Dave is up in Kincardine. Josh is in Rockport, about an hour away from Kingston. And I'm right here in Odessa, just outside of Kingston. So great show coming up for you tonight. Just wanted to say something, though. Last week, we had Eric Massey from Tangle Free on, and he was talking about how Tangle Free ships direct to the consumer. Our good friends at Canadian Waterfowl Supplies here in Ontario, they also sell Tangle Free equipment. So if you do need anything and you're in Canada and you don't want to necessarily pay those shipping and duties, you can reach out to Pat at Canadian Waterfowl Supplies for your Tangle Free stuff. So just wanted to get that out there. Josh, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. I've been trying to get someone from you guys to come on, but I get it. You guys are extremely busy, and I'm going to say this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anybody here, but I would hazard to say that SLO is the premier outfitter in Ontario. Would that be a fair statement to make?
Yeah, I'd say it's fair. Like, you got to give Dave credit. I mean, yeah, he's been doing this a very, very, very long time now. And honestly, I mean, he's one of my best friends, but definitely one of the nicest guys you could possibly meet. Do anything for you to help you out. Yeah. But I mean, and there's a lot of good outfitters in Ontario now. But Dave's he's run such a good show now for, what is he now? Gosh, he's over 20 years easily. Yeah. Easily over 20 years. So it's hard, like what's the word I'm looking for here? Just like through word of mouth and everything that he's done.
His reputation.
He's just an honest guy that, tells you always how it is, but like I said, he'll do everything for you. But yeah, definitely I'd say that St. Lawrence, the way he's built it up, and the way he's respected everybody, it's definitely one of the best ones up there. And in my opinion, anyways. So.
Well, no, absolutely, and your opinion counts because you work there. So if you didn't think he was a good outfitter or you didn't like the way things were handled, well, you wouldn't work there, right? Like no one's going to work for a shitty boss.
No, God, no. I mean, I'm like, I've been thinking about it a lot this season. It is. Like I met Dave in 2004 when I was 14 years old. And where I'm at, I'm actually I'm in Chesterville right now. I'm up here for the hunting season. Mm-hmm. And like my family's always owned a big farm here. And, for many, many days, Dave would, I'd be hearing all these gunshots going off behind the farm. So one day I just skipped school and rode my bicycle as soon as I see my dad leave for work, rode the bicycle down across the field to see who was there. And sure enough, it was him. And it just kind of steamrolled through that. But I figured, I mean, I'm not very great with math. I can usually only count by goose limits, which is 5 or 3, depending where you're at. But I kind of figured out that I think I'm in year 17 with him now. So wow. So I started 14 and I'm 30, just turned 32 not long ago. So yeah, I mean, if he wasn't the nicest guy in the world or ran a good show, I probably wouldn't be here. But I mean, he's made all 17 years enjoyable. As tough as some years can be hunting wise, he's always been one of the good guys. So
and the fact that he got his mitts on you at 14 years old, he can mold you into what he wants you to be too, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know right from wrong, a duck from a goose at that age. I mean, I started hunting waterfowl young with my grandfather, but that was, I mean, it was going out. Like I knew about hunting. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong,
right.
but Dave really showed me, you know, okay, this is the proper way to do it, and this is what you want to do, and this is you know, when it comes to sky busting, this is what you don't do, and you know, don't be trespassing. So, I mean, you see people getting a bad rep anymore, waterfowlers as a whole sometimes, for doing some things that, you know, aren't you know, they're necessarily frowned upon. But I was beyond blessed to come in at such an early age and kind of learn the ins and outs and the rights and wrongs. So
I gotta
when it comes to guy, sorry,
I'm gonna just put a little plug in there. So for people watching the show or listening to the show, if your parents are DJs from up country and your kids watching this show, we don't condone skipping school.
No, it's funny. It's funny you say that. Like I think that year. So I steamrolled after that, right? Like it was like I took like 3 days off in a row. I was just, you know, I had a cold or whatever. But finally, my grandmother, like they used to go for, after they get done hunting, they'd go for breakfast here locally in town. And my grandmother knew about him at that point, and she walked up to the table, and you know, David's never met her at this point, and she walks right up to the table. You know, all the groups of hunters there, and she goes right up to Dave. She says, "Listen," she goes, "you know, I really like what you're doing for Josh. You know, it's great. You know, he looks like he's having fun, but can you please make him go to school?"
Nice. Pressure from Nan.
That's not, I think she laid the law down. I think I had to go back to school for a few more days before the next hunting trip. So
that's awesome. What were you going to say, Dave? Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to like add on to that whole, when we're talking about the premier outfitters and guides in Ontario, like there's St. Lawrence Outfitters, but then there's also like over on this side, there's some. And when we're talking about the size of Ontario, for the people in the States that are like, oh, well, there's a premier one in Dakota. Yeah. Dakota's like 180,000 square kilometers. Ontario's like 1 million square kilometers. So
that's right.
It's a huge landmass, and to be that well known across Ontario. Yeah. And really, when you think about it, there's a pile of guides and outfitters, and there's like 3 that everybody knows. And then there's, you know, you go to Lake St. Clair, and there's Rob Stanley and the Douglas brothers. You go out with one of them, and you're passing all these boats, and it's like, okay, well, that's a guide, that's a guide, that's a guide. And I don't know 3/4 of them, but I'm on the other side of Ontario, and someone says, "Oh yeah, St. Lawrence Outfitters." Well, I know who that is, right? So it's kind of a big deal. So
yeah, no, and like I said, that's absolutely total credit to David. I mean, he went to school for business, so he knew what he was getting himself into right off the hop, and marketed it well. And like I said, it's just, you know, his reputation, who he is as an individual and as a business that he runs, is definitely what's kept him in the talks. Like we don't do, like his early days, you know, we did a lot of filming, a lot of DVDs and TV shows, magazine articles, and even shows in the States. But, you know, we've kind of toned it down since then. And it's still, the business is still growing and growing and growing. You know, he's still, you know, minus all this COVID stuff that's going on right now. He's still full throughout the seasons. And like, honestly, I think that's just because everybody knows that, you know, he runs a reputable business and isn't going to try to screw anybody. So
and I spoke to Dave a couple years ago about some stuff, and I remember talking to him, and not once did I ever think he was coming across as cocky or arrogant or anything like that. But to add to what you were just saying, Josh, like he don't need to really do the shows and the magazine articles anymore, because his reputation, like I remember, like I've talked to people. Is that even a fucking word? I've talked to people.
We're calling it a word for tonight.
Yeah, we're calling it a word. I've talked to people that have been on this show, and we've had some amazing people on this show. And I know Sean Stahl is coming up to go hunt with you guys here real soon. But like you talk to these people, and they've been coming back and forth to St. Lawrence for years. Yeah. So you know, like it says a lot about your business. And when you're into this guiding business and you're charging a premium dollar for a premium hunt, and if people are continually coming back year after year after year, that says a lot about the organization that you're running and the fact that you're able to put people on the birds, and that, you know, people can speculate all they want, but at the end of the day, return customers, they're not coming back if they're having a shitty go, right?
Exactly. So, and it is like you talk about return customers, and I mean there's groups that I've been hunting with since I was 14 or 15 years old. So crazy. I mean, they've been coming up that long. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's always guys that come and go. I mean, that's just the way the business is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I mean, you know, most guys, when they end their trips here, when they're settling up with Dave or whatever kind of thing, or talking to him, they are, you know, they're saying, okay, listen, hey, can you put me down for the exact same dates again next year?
Crazy.
And, you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I said, there's guys that are going to come. There's guys that's not. There's guys that it's at the end of it all, it's still hunting. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days. No matter who you are or how good you are, you're going to have bad days. You feel sorry for the guys that are up on trips when those bad days happen, and they might not come back. But the guys that, like I said, know Dave and know what he's about and what he's built here. Like, I want to say like 80-90% of the business is repeat customers. So.
Yeah, of course. And if you're going to, I get it when it comes to your money and you want to get your money's worth and stuff like that. And I really do. I understand it, but there's also the aspect that it is hunting and you never know. Like we were out hunting this week and Mark did the math, and the ducks that we shot, each duck cost us $2,340.
That's just a sad reality of being a waterfowl.
You know, so like I get it. You want your money's worth, and sometimes the birds, because they just don't work, especially like I know, and this is a fucking rabbit hole that we're going to go down, and eventually I knew we were going to go down it, is the white devils, because I know that takes up a lot of your spring. But that has to be like from a guy, like as a hunter, because I was supposed to come down 2 years ago and hunt with you guys, and then the birds just disappear. And Dave said, listen, don't come. The birds are gone. And don't even bother to come. I can take your money and put you in a field, but you're going to sit there all morning. You're not going to shoot nothing. So from a guide standpoint, it must be absolutely infuriating to deal with snow geese.
It certainly can be. The like the fall hunt we enjoy, and we do really well, you know, per average in the fall season for them. And like I said, it's not taken away from our spring season. In the fall season, I try to describe this to guys that come up in the spring, and it is tough. So the way I've always broke it down is like our snow geese, they typically get to us sometime very late October, depending on weather, to early November, something like that. And they'll stick around until it does get cold or it does start getting a lot of snow. They're not a very tough bird when it comes to snow on the ground, but we do well in the fall. But I try to explain to guys in the spring, you got to look at it like this. These snow geese, when they leave the tundra, they are shot at up north, September, October, November, they start getting shot here. December, they're shot here. January, February, now they're getting shot in the States on their way down. They start coming back in March, April, they're shot here, and May they're shot here. So, well, I mean, I kind of lost track of my fingers there, but it's like 8 months of the 12 months a year, these things are getting shot at. And I mean, they're not an easy bird to hunt. Some days, I mean, they absolutely fall in your lap and everything's great. But per average, you know, they're a tougher bird to hunt. And the days where you're sitting out there and you watch 50,000 of them fly over top of you, or you know, or even 100,000 of them fly in the distance, and you can hear the mumbling in the blind, and guys are kind of questioning. It's like, you know, and you kind of wonder, like, you know, are guys thinking you're screwing them? Well, listen, I don't want to sit out here for 13 hours a day and not shoot anything either.
Right.
Like, I want to see guys shoot these things just as much as the next guy.
So, yeah, and And also, and sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but
No, you're
also like I don't want to put, I don't want to make it sound like it's something that has to be done, but your tip, your gratuity at the end of the hunt depends on if you put the fellas on birds, because if people don't have a smasher of a hunt, the chances of you getting that awesome tip is not there, right? So, you know, of course you want to put them on birds.
Oh, absolutely. And we've run into that where and this is unfortunately, it's the power of social media at times. 95% of it's good, but now it's free, open air and everything. And these guys that might have had a bad day or something, the 6 or 7 groups before them had good days, but now the power of social media, everyone will base things off one bad day as opposed to 6. Everybody forgets the good days but remembers the bad, right? So it's tough there.
We've heard Dave say, not Dave Roy, but David Palmer. We've heard him say a number of times. Yeah, you, Dave. We've heard him say a number of times that people normally don't give out the props on a good job. It's only the bad job that they comment on, right? And that they spread. People don't, when they have an awesome experience, like you get some people that do, but the majority of people don't profess their awesome time, but they will take time out of their day to absolutely try to ruin you, right? So
yeah, exactly. And that's just a cold reality of, I guess, business as a whole. I mean, you look at thousands of people that shop at Walmart every day. Most of them, say are 90% happy, but you get one person that goes in there and they don't have their favorite brand of chip or something like that. Well, now they're losing their mind, and next thing you know, it blows up across the entire world. So
that's a good point. They should have, whenever you buy something and you look at the reviews, they should have the number of items that sold.
Exactly.
In relation to the reviews, because you'll see 20 shitty reviews, but they sold 1 million of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Real good point.
But then there's also the ones that are like verified purchases that like the people didn't actually purchase it. They just leave a review to get like credit or something. That happens all the time too now.
Really?
So,
it's like a scam thing?
Like when they're
what's the reasoning
seeds,
behind it? What's the reasoning behind do it?
If they have like a higher seller rating, then like they show up better and they look better when they go to sell stuff. It's a whole fucking world out there that I don't get it all, but I understand what the scam side of it is.
Yeah.
So
the world, I like my group of friends and my small little piece of heaven that I have here. The world scares me, to be honest with you, because there's some fucking wingnuts out there.
It's probably a good point to mention for people who don't know. If you're booking a guide service such as SLO or whoever, it's not just, don't expect to just pay the guide fee. If it's say $250, $350, $450 a day, depending on where you're going per person.
Yeah.
If it's $250 a day, expect to spend another $100 a day on tips, because the person who's taking you out, they get paid, but the outfitter gets paid, right? And the guy's working their ass off all day long.
Yeah. Josh is just going to sit back and let us run with this one. We got you, buddy. We got you. Yeah, we got you.
I've always said that a tip isn't a necessity. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it, obviously. Like, it's more than welcome, but I don't do my job for a tip. So
no,
of course.
It's nice to see.
Kind of the way it works in the industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Generally, especially when you get up to the higher end guys and stuff.
That's right.
Or even the lower end guys, if someone's going out of their way to work their ass off to try and get you on birds, regardless of the result. I understand how you say, if you don't have a smasher of a hunt, you might not get as lucrative a tip. It doesn't matter. The guy who brought you on the hunt still worked their ass off all day and the night before.
Yeah.
And the day before to get you on birds, right?
Yeah.
So
try it.
Yeah.
Try our best.
We got you, buddy. We got you.
I appreciate you.
We got you, because you know what? And it's great that you brought that up, Mark, because when I went out west a bunch of years ago, that was something I didn't think of. It would have been the first time that I had went with an actual guide. So everybody else in the party, they all, accounted for this few extra dollars that the budget for tips for the guide. I didn't. I not something. Now I had the money. But I didn't account for it. I didn't budget that. So it is something, because for anybody that's listening or watching, what you don't see is the amount of scouting and the cups of coffee and eating fucking shit while you're on the road scouting and trying to find birds for the clients, right? Like it's a nice thank you to give to the guide, if it's possible for you to give it to them. So anyways, I digress. We got that out there. Hopefully your pockets get lined this fall, Josh.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's always
So listen, how's I know we're fairly early into the season so far, and I'm not that far from you. I'm only, where you guys are operating, I'm only an hour and a half away from you guys. I'm just starting to see birds now. Like, we've had resident birds that are around, but I'm just starting to see birds like in the last week. How are you guys doing down there for numbers?
Well, I'm sure Mark can attest to this, because he said, yeah, because you're not far from where I'm at right now.
No, not far at all.
Like I said, I'm just down in Chesterville, but I have never seen, and I'll rephrase that. It's been a long time since I've seen this amount of geese here this early.
Really?
Now, it's full. Now, whether or not that's a sign of a real big hatch,
right?
Or because with the COVID stuff, nobody's getting their studies like they should be.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not it was a real big hatch, or like everything, I know this year. So we always kind of break it down where we're at in Eastern Ontario. We always seem to get a small migration towards the end of our early season, typically.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get that one coming in to when season is getting close to starting our regular season, when ducks come in. Then we get that one, it seems like first week of October. You get another one around first week in November. And then once Ottawa freezes out and gets real cold, that's when we get all of those birds that push down here to the St. Lawrence. But it has been a very, very long time since I've seen this many show up this early. Wow. And like I said, it's either because of the hatch, or they know something that we don't.
Well,
and like everything was perfect for them though. Like we had a 5 or 6 day stretch where it was like, I can't remember when the full moon was, but it was a full moon not long ago, and it had north winds or northeast
mm-hmm.
winds all at the same time, which our biggest migrations always seem to come on northeasts.
Yeah.
And everything just lined up perfectly for them. So it's almost concerning to see, like, it's like a 50-50 concerning right now to see how many birds are here right now.
Right.
Yeah, just because it is so early. So whether or not that's a sign we're going to have a very early winter and our season's going to be over quick, or the hatch was just that extraordinary, and like our November push and our December push is going to be just as big. So, well, only time to tell.
I guess there's 2 points I want to make for anyone that's listening, that's looking to book with St. Lawrence Outfitters. Those dates that Josh just said, when all those good migrations come in, remember that shit and book it on those times next year, fuckers. Yeah. But now I forget what I was gonna say.
Okay, so while you're thinking of that, Dave, I wanna toss a theory out, and I want to know what your guys' thoughts on it. So it's no secret that the prairie potholes are in a drought, and a horrible hatch, no water. And I know geographically how much land mass that those birds would have to cover in order to get over to Eastern Ontario. But is it at all possible that because of this no water out in the prairies and birds are moving east, is that a possibility?
Could be. Yeah, just based off of what I see, I'm going to say no, just because the ducks. I mean, if they decided, if that's what you're saying, it did happen. We should be seeing thousands upon thousands of ducks every day as well.
Fair.
And
there's no different. Not, so. Yeah, there's no different in the duck numbers. No, you're absolutely right.
No, this migration I'm talking about, this is all Canada geese. So
really,
our ducks, like it takes a while for our ducks to really start showing up here. Like you need some cold weather. But like that, and that's the only justification I have is why I don't think those birds.
No, and it makes sense. Way. Yeah,
but I mean, maybe they just got hooked up with those ducks that usually come down here in November, and come November, it's going to be the most insane duck migration. If it is, I'll get a hold of you and tell you, hey, you know what, you were right. But
buddy, if it is, I like, because I'm like getting giddy right now just thinking about if because I know what our end November to mid-December looks like for mallards. Like it's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. If that was to get any better, I don't know what I'd do with myself.
Well, I know, because really like many years ago now, and actually it's kind of touching on your ducks from out West Point there, but many years ago we used to hunt Lake Ontario up in Napanee.
Yep.
And or Hay Bay, wherever the heck it was out that way.
Yep, Hay Bay. Yep.
And it was like the mallards late in the season, your December, January it was unreal. You know, we were shooting fields with 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 ducks in it.
Yep.
Well, in a 1 week stretch, this was all within 3 or 4 days, we killed a duck band from Minnesota, and we also killed a duck band from Alberta, all within the same week. Wow. So that's kind of touching on things a little bit right there. Like, is all those Lake Ontario ducks coming from out west?
Well, so if you look at, and you're the expert, and I can only go on hearsay and what I've been told and what I've found out on Facebook and stuff like this, but the numbers of snow geese in the spring, like those numbers are steadily increasing for this area, correct? Is that right to say?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, you know, like there is a shift. And then the other day I heard tell of consistently every year in Eastern Ontario, there's cinnamon teal being shot.
Really?
So I've heard this, and it's a couple dudes that are usually doing it, and it's not like they're saying it for the sake of saying it. Like they're shooting cinnamon teal. It's quick. It comes in, they shoot 1 or 2, and then it's gone. But there's obviously a shift. There's something happening. You know, like if you're looking at snow geese, we're seeing an increased population in crane now. We're seeing the population of snow geese. You're hearing about these weird ducks now, like a cinnamon teal coming through. Like there's obviously a shift. There's something going on that, you know, that's affecting the birds. And then for you to say that, you know, in Hay Bay in December, you're shooting a bird from Minnesota and one from Alberta, buddy, that's a huge distance of landmass to cover before you get here.
Exactly. No, like I said, that was certainly the interesting part about that. So, and I mean, wow. just kind of touch on what you were saying. And I don't know if this is just because they blew up or what the reason is, but 15, 16 years ago here, where we're at, and you know, 65, we didn't have snow geese.
Yeah.
We didn't see any. If you seen a snow goose, it was, you know, 1 or 2 of them mixed into a flock of, you know, 8,000 Canada geese, or all of a sudden, you know, a flock of 10 flew over. It was, you know, this all of this happened. It happened overnight, where all of a sudden it was one season you didn't see nothing, to all of a sudden, you know, now there's 100,000 or 200,000, whatever it is, that stage in Eastern Ontario during the migration. So you wonder why all of a sudden it happened like that. But
no, to get back to the St. Lawrence Outfitters, tell our listeners, and especially, God forbid, there's someone that's never heard of St. Lawrence Outfitters, but how big? I know I can generalize how big of an area it is that you guys hunt, but how many acres are you guys that you, can you even put a number to it?
Oh my gosh. I know Dave figured it out at one point in time, how much acreage of land we were kind of vaguely hunting. But to put into perspective, typically when we're scouting at night, there's 3 trucks on the road, and we drive for 3 hours every single night. And we're covering an area from the Quebec border all the way across west to like the 416, and all the way north to, you're darn near getting to Ottawa at this point, and right down to the St. Lawrence. So if you kind of draw a big square, the whole thing is a square, however it is. I mean, we got land, permission on land through that entire area. So it's a lot.
So I'm thinking, so from the border, Ottawa, 416 down to the St. Lawrence, and then back to the border. So 2 hours regardless of driving. So east-west, maybe not north-south, but east-west, 2 hours for sure, and a good hour north-south of that square, right? So more like a rectangle, but a serious, and that for anybody that's not familiar with Eastern Ontario, that is not an urban center. That is nothing but fucking farmland.
That's a lot of back road driving.
Yeah, that's exactly. That is nothing but farmland and back roads. So there's not a lot of urban area in there. So yeah, that is impressive. Because I know, like, you can talk to people about St. Lawrence Outfitters and they'll say, well, when were you at St. Lawrence Outfitters? Were you there when they were in, was it Lansdowne?
We had, I mean, going back when Dave started.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to run the business out of Mallory Town.
Out of Mallory Town, right?
That's where kind of he started. And it was probably, it would have been 16, 18 years ago, 19 years, 20 or whatever it's been. That's when he started running the hunts down on this side of Eastern, or this area here where we're at now.
Yeah.
So it's a long time of farmer connections. So.
Oh, absolutely. Dave, sorry, did you remember what you were going to ask?
Yeah, I've had like 3 or 4 things in here, but you just keep talking, Damien. Holy shit.
Okay,
I'm gonna tell me to shut up, and I will. So
I'm gonna put my mic.
You, Josh. I want to hear what you're saying, Josh. I don't even know what.
I'm going on mute. Fuck you.
No,
fucking time.
No, Josh, when you talk about you're on the road for 3 hours, when we're talking to new hunters and we're telling them how to scout here, we're telling them, find the roost, find the loaf, and kind of follow the birds from there to find where they're going. But you guys are covering such a massive amount of land. Like, are you just looking at the properties that you have permission on, or how are you guys doing that with such a big organization?
So like I was saying, we might drive for 2, we'll call it 2.5 to be modest here. There's definitely nights where you drive for 3 hours, but the way things have been, the amount of geese, it's probably like, we'll call it 2 hours here lately. And that's, whenever I'm saying we're driving 2 hours, like I said, that's 3 trucks on the road, driving for 2 hours in a certain area, in a small area that probably only takes, like, if you just did it once, it probably only take you 15 or 20 minutes to do that area, or half an hour to do it. But by the time, this is the same anywhere. You'll have geese fly off a roost. Exactly. Just like Mark's doing, you're just driving a circle like this nonstop. You wait for the same farmer 15 times a night. But it's, like I said, it's such a small area, but we're just dissecting it so well. We'll start around a roost, typically we'll get kind of relatively close. And after that, you just kind of start branching off. Like there's been several nights where I sit on the roost and, I'll wait for 5 or 6 bunches to fly off the roost to start going a certain direction. Okay. Hey, that's enough to go off. Now I'll start going that way, drive 20 minutes down the road to watch every single one of them turn back around and fly right back to the roost again. Okay. Well, that was a waste of time. And when you get back to the roost, now everything that was sitting there is gone and you have no idea which way they went. So that's when, like Mark said, doing his fingers here, that's when the whole, 2 hours of doing this and, like a 30-minute block kind of starts adding up. So
the distractor geese.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Distracting,
exactly. They pull a fast one on you. They know what they're doing. They don't get enough credit, but they secretly know.
Yeah, it's kind of like that joke where the guy comes out of the bar and the police officer's waiting for him, and he's sitting there and he pretending he's drunk and then all his buddies get in their cars and they all leave, and then he, as soon as everyone's gone, he jumps in the truck and the police officer pulls him over and he's sober as hell and like finally understands what's going on, right? That's what those geese are to you. So
this is, I mean, you might call this absolutely far-fetched, but I swear on my mother's life, I could be in somebody else's vehicle or a car, pull over on the side of the road, and the geese won't bat an eye, right? Keep feeding, doing whatever. I pull over in my truck, every single one of them puts their heads up, stands up, looking at me, and starts walking deeper into the field as fast as they could get. So
yeah.
it might all be in my mind, but I'm absolutely just sworn on it.
So how many hunts are you guys scouting for per day? Like, do you sometimes have multiple hunts in a day going on, or?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, things with this whole COVID stuff that's gone on, like it's limited. It's definitely cut back on our amount of groups. We used to be looking for 4 to 5 hunts a day, and now we might be looking for 2 or 1 or 3, whatever it is, right? But and this is where we're going back on things here. But I think where David's built his reputation in this business is because we are looking so hard and trying to find the absolute best spot for these guys. I mean, and there's nights. I mean, it was 20 degrees tonight, and the geese flew off the roost and only went, to a dirt field not far from the roost and said, "Okay, screw it, this is where we're spending the night." These things happen, but that's why 3 trucks are on the road, regardless if we're looking for 1 hunt or 4 hunts or 5 hunts, is just because you get nights like tonight, and they happen more often than you imagine. But through all that, with these guys driving, you're bound to come up with something, or at least come up with some sort of plan to where guys are going to be on birds or underneath birds. So,
and you're kind of tying it all back to my first thing from way back at the start of this episode with what's gone on with COVID. Like last year, the Americans weren't coming up to hunt. They couldn't just drive up here. And even this year, like a lot of them canceled because of certain reasons that we won't get into on this show. But do you think that had an effect over the last 2 years on bird numbers going forward? Like, do you think, because you guys would know better, you used to be doing 5 hunts a day, say 2 people or 3 people, and now all those birds aren't getting shot up here. Those people aren't coming up from the States to shoot them. Do you think it's having much of an effect?
I don't think it is, because I mean, and you hear about this. I mean, I've been hearing about it ever since I started, but guys have been saying, there's not as many hunters around as there was 15, 20 years ago. Well, when I first started here, you were lucky to hear, or not. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it lucky or not, but you were amazed if you heard another group of guys goose hunting between opening weekend in December. You didn't see it. There was nobody goose hunting. There might have been like the opening weekend at the end of September. You might have had a few guys go out and shoot ponds for woodies or do a field hunt for geese. But that was it. Like, you would not run into another hunter the rest of the season. Now, like, there's a lot of guys that have taken up goose hunting now. And especially too, when everybody was off with its COVID stuff for the last 2 years, there's even more guys that are hunting now. So where we lost having groups because of the COVID stuff, I think it just counterbalanced with local people that went out and hunted. And I think it's great. I mean, the birds are here. They're only here for a short amount of time. Get out and have some fun with them. But no, like, man, I can't say that there's more birds around because we're less groups, because I mean, there's still more guys hunting now than ever, it seems like. So
I think there's also more people because of the generational thing where, like, even my son, like if I took him deer hunting and he had to sit in a deer stand for 4 nights in a row not seeing a deer, it would just be the end of the world. But you go duck, goose hunting, turkey hunting, like, if you're shooting something, a couple hours later, it's like, okay, we've had enough. Let's just go home. And it's not the end of the world, right? Like, you don't have to put in that big time. So the kids are getting that instant gratification of going, seeing the flocks, knowing that there's going to be birds coming. And I think that's a big deal why a lot of these kids are coming into the goose and duck hunting.
Oh, for sure. And absolutely. Right? And you look at it too, like we kind of touched on social media and the bads of it prior, but like now, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this, but I'm sure when we all first started, you got your information off a Nightingale hunting DVD or VHS that you found in store, or you got Wildfowl magazine, or you got a Delta Waterfowl or a DU magazine. And that's where a lot, and just word of mouth from somebody, that's hunting in the area. But now all the, like this up and coming generation that's getting into hunting, like everything that you need to know, that took, all of us years and years to years. There's a lot of stuff you're not going to learn from social media or video, but you're off to a running start with the amount of material that's available, just, right at the end of your fingertip. It's right there. Everything's right there for you to learn now. So I think, like you're saying, a lot of this younger generation is definitely taking advantage of it. Gear's getting better than it ever was before. So, just that alone, you get a guy that has, a field of Canada geese and buys 2-3 dozen nice decoys. I mean, even if he doesn't know a whole lot about reading birds and watching birds and all that, odds are he's still going to get some shooting at something. So it's better. It's better now than ever in terms of guys coming up and learning. And I think through social media, you're seeing guys that are learning. The guys that learn off of it are learning the right way and the proper way, what I call the right way and proper way of doing things. So that's always good to see now too.
Yeah, that's good. Can you tell us what it takes to be a guide or an outfitter in Ontario? Like some places in this, I know the answer, but I just want to, it's better if it comes from an expert. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like down in the States, there's certain
loosely.
places you have to do a course or get like a certificate or something. What do you need in Ontario?
In Ontario, to be a waterfowler, you should probably have your hunting license. You should probably have a duck stamp, your gun license. That's not a bad thing to have either. I know out west, I went out there for one season and you had to have a guide license, but that was as simple as, I think we signed a piece of paper across the counter somewhere at the local, I don't know what it is out there, their DNR or MNR, whatever it is out that way. And Quebec, excuse me, but I want to say, and I mean, quote me if I'm wrong, I feel like Ontario is like the only spot you don't need a license to be a guide. Anybody can do it. If you have a trailer full of decoys or bed of decoys, okay, you're a guide now.
Yeah,
it's the truth though. Anybody can do it, as far as I know. So,
what about like health, like first aid course, insurance? Do you need any of that?
David has insurance through the business, like for obvious reasons. If anything ever did happen, he's got that. I've watched a few YouTube videos on how to perform CPR, but that's about as far as my training goes in that. Still, I mean, I'm sure in life or death situation, okay, I'm going to put my lips to somebody, but I'd rather a whole heck of a lot not be doing
Stick
that.
your thumb in the
exactly,
hole.
dig down. But no, that's something we've been talking about too in recent years, because just over the fact that, like, going back before, a lot of our clients are, return and have been coming forever, and are, there's, we deal with a lot of older clientele in a year, and that's always been a major concern with me is, if I'm taking one of these guys out hunting and all of a sudden he has a heart attack or something happens while we're out there, do I know what I'm doing? So we've been piddling back and forth with it, like learning a little bit more on what to do and kind of our plan of action of what we should do. But that's as far as that goes right now. So
for anyone listening, step one is dial 911 and get someone there. The sooner you get them going.
That's a good way, eh?
Right?
Scene survey. Scene survey.
So no, I just found it very odd that it seems like more and more we're seeing more and more guiding services show up or in Ontario, like all around, and it's like it seems odd that so many are popping up all over the place, but really there's nothing. Like tomorrow I could just say like, oh, I'm going to be Punisher guide service for every couple days or whatever, but it just seemed like an odd thing about Ontario. So I just want to make sure we talk about that. So
good. For sure, absolutely. I mean, it is, and like I said, the scary thing, and this has always been something that's kind of not bothered me, but like trying to break it down the best I can here. Throughout the season, I am meeting up with fellas that, some of them I've never met before. Some of them I see a couple times a year. Some of them I see, for 3 days out of an entire year. I'm meeting up with these guys that I never met before, that all have a loaded gun in their hand, and I'm hanging out with them. hunting with your buddies, and you can figure out who's your buddies real quick. You might have somebody that you consider a friend, and you go hunting with them and see how dangerous can be. Okay, well, listen, I'm not going hunting with you anymore. But I don't really, to an extent, have that choice. These guys are coming up on a trip. Hey, fellas, I'm Josh. Good to meet you. Let's go hang out with some loaded guns in a cornfield for a few hours. Okay, that could be a bit concerning. So like when we go out, like, and every one of us here is the same. Like we always give a big spiel first thing in the morning. Like this is what's going to happen. Like, and if you don't like it, this is how we're running things. This is how I'm running things. And I don't care if you get a goose as long as we all come out of here alive. And there's never been like I said, in 16, 17 years of doing this, I've never had, I can probably count on one hand where I've had a gun go off accidentally or something's been scary at that current moment in time. Like everybody, God bless it, knock on wood, has always been very safe after our spiel or even before the spiel. So, but that's like I said, that's where having insurance as an outfitter. You got to watch that too, right? Like, I don't know how many guys in Ontario do, but definitely with St. Lawrence and Dave, we can say that we're covered there.
So first thing in the morning, show up for a hunt, give them the spiel. Do you check their ammo, check their tags, check their stamp, or is that on them, or what goes on there?
That's on them. That's on them. They all know the requirements to be a waterfowl hunter in Ontario. It's not hard. It's been the same thing for years. They might have changed. I don't think the guys out by Damien here, but we recently went to a 3-bird limit here in October for this comes in like September 25th till the end of October somewhere. You go outside of 65, you can shoot 5. You come into 65, you can only shoot 3. But this is all stuff that hey, as a guide, and I tell everybody this, this is what our limit is, blah blah blah. But you as a hunter, you need to know that stuff. You do. If you're going to go out, it's not all this, bells and whistles, you show up and shoot. You should know that just as a human being, you should know this stuff. But like with that being said, the tag thing, that's on them. I'm licensed. I know what I have. I have my stamp, I have my small game, I have my PAL. I'm covered. If something's, a game warden comes out and checks you and you're not covered, well, that's on you. That's not on me. I didn't do that. So.
Yeah. And that's, I won't get into it. So you don't check ammo and you're not like, oh, you're shooting this. So if there's an 80-yard sky bust, you can be the one to shoot it. Like,
yeah, no, we do. Like we have a lot of first time hunters, and I've had guys, and this before we ever got shooting kind of thing, we're all meeting at the trucks and I watch what guys are putting in for gear and putting in for shells into their bag or whatever. And, before we ever hit the field, I know there was a guy that had a box of 7.5 lead, like target loads. And I'm like, hey there, big guy, this isn't going to work. So he left that in his truck. I had a box of steel I was able to give him, but we certainly watch for that stuff. And there's been times out in the field where I've noticed, a guy was shooting, and don't get me wrong, decoy and goose, you don't need BBs. You don't need triple BBs. 3s and 4s work just fine. But there'll be some guy, you kind of go over things, what, and they all ask you too, like, oh, what do you like to shoot? Or, what kind of choke do you like, whatever it is. So you always answer those truthfully. And like I said, 99% of guys that come with us, every one of them's prepared, right? It's very, 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 very few guys that, show up, have no idea what's going on, or never goose hunted before in their life. And even if they haven't hunted geese before, they've gone, taken the time to learn about the regulations and the appropriate shot size, the appropriate chokes, and nobody shoots unless we give the go ahead. So there's certainly no sky busting anyways.
Yeah, that was a bit of an inside joke here with
Oh,
the boys knew what we were talking about, and I'll fill you in later.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, but no, that was that's some good information there. So Damien, you can unmute now.
But how come we don't hear from Mark? Mark, you talk. You just do the circle.
I was gonna ask, boys, do you think if you ask 100 true duck hunters, they'd all know who SLO is?
I would think so. I would think so. So, and that's another. That's an inside joke.
No.
I'm talking true duck hunters. I'm not talking about guys who use rangefinders from the boats. I'm talking true duck hunters.
If you asked 100, how many would know us?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll say one to be safe, but it might be more than that.
In Ontario, another inside joke. In Ontario, Josh, I think you'd be really surprised if you were to throw out St. Lawrence Outfitters here in Ontario. How many fellows would recognize the name? I really do.
I think you can split that up. I think you can split that up into the two age categories, maybe from like 30 years old and older and 30 and under, because I think I find a lot of the guys around here that are younger don't want to spend money on stuff that, so they wouldn't know any of the guide services just based on they're not looking into it. They're not looking to use a guide. They're not, watching what these guys are doing. They're, hey, I can buy my 10 dozen silos and a A-frame blind and go out and shoot these birds on my own. I'm not spending money on anything else. Right. So I think it's a generational thing that, and hopefully when they're a little bit older, they understand like some of the best hunts are going to be when you have someone else do all that work for you. You sit back, you crack jokes. Josh makes you some bacon and eggs in that blind, and you shoot birds all morning. And
if I'm making bacon and eggs in a blind, you might be a little bit concerned because I know we're going to be there for a long time if I'm making bacon and eggs. So,
do you make breakfast too?
But that's
there's I could probably count on one hand how many times I've actually made breakfast or brought food to the blind, and it's because I knew damn well that I was going to be there for more than about 2 hours. So.
But that's a really good point when you're bringing up that fact of I just lost my train of thought.
The young frugal hunters.
Oh, so we look at these so younger than 30, and that's a broad statement to make, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at this generation of people, like you alluded to, Josh, that they can go on YouTube, they can go on social media, they can watch videos and see it first. Like they can see instruction on how to set up a spread, how to call, how to scout. Everything it's there. And that's awesome. And it's awesome that this generation is able to do it, because I wasn't able to do it. Mark wasn't able to do it. You weren't able to do it. Neither were Dave. We didn't have those tools available to us. So
like the internet.
Yeah. I see you have the internet on computers these days.
Yeah, just when you're getting deep into a YouTube video of goose hunting, you got to get off because mom needs to use the phone, right?
Yeah. So that's awesome that you use those tools and stuff. And I'm not discouraging anybody from using those tools. The thing that you will realize, and Dave, you touched on it, to be able to walk into a lodge with your case of beer underneath your arms, sit back and drink and know, or whatever you want to do. If it's tea, if it's beer, if it's coffee, fuck, whatever. But to know that tomorrow morning, you don't have to set up those friggin' 8 dozen decoys and grass in a blind and do all of these things, that right there is the definition of why you tip your guide, because you're back at the lodge and you're just getting shittered and you're playing grabby ass with all your buddies, and the guide is doing all the work. And that's the thing. So not discouraging anybody from, hey, go buy your dozen silos, go out and scout a field by yourself, because really the only way you're going to learn is by trial and error. That's
I think kind of just to touch on that, like, and you got to remember too, and this is one that really grinds my gears a little bit. You'll look at people that think less of other goose hunters because they went to an outfitter.
Yeah,
it's the cold reality of it.
Yeah,
but
that's jealousy, buddy.
In the country, not everybody has access to hundreds of acres, or even if your uncle owned a small farm like 50, 100 acres to hunt. Not everybody has that. Like, we get a lot of clientele from Ottawa, from Toronto, that, you know, these people might have grew up hunting when they were younger, got a job in the big city. There's nowhere to keep a 6x10 enclosed trailer full of decoys. Absolutely. Or blinds or dogs, or even having a gun there. You know, I mean, everybody does, obviously, but don't think anything less of these guys because they used an outfitter. Not everybody has the access to be able to, you know, have a full trailer of decoys, or even, I mean, you look at okay, so what's, like, I just recently purchased a bunch of decoys from Pat, and Pat
Heinrichs, in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, and it was a lot of money. But this, you know, that's my livelihood. Yeah. Not everybody's gonna, so you try to justify, okay, am I gonna go out and spend $5,000 on decoys, another $8,000 on trailers, another $2,000 on blinds, or are you gonna pay, you know, whatever it is, $250 to go out and not have to worry about that stuff the rest of the year?
Absolutely. See, I am that person. I am, especially when it comes to goose hunting, I'm not going to go out and buy a trailer. I'm not going to dump $5,000 in the decoys, because I'm not going to do it. And if I want to hunt geese and somebody do the work for me, listen, $250 a day plus tip, to me, is worth it.
It's a big stretch from about a $7,000 trailer. So
big time. Big time.
Yeah, I've sent guys to you, Josh, because the guys I work with, guys I know, they know I hunt, and they know I like to, and then they get interested in hunting, and they're like, I want to go goose hunting, or I want to go duck hunting, or whatever. Can you get me out? And I'm like, man, I can barely get myself out. I don't know when I'm getting you out. So I said, here's what you do. I said, you have no gear, but you got a firearm. I said, go talk to, and I'll say you guys, St. Lawrence Outfitters. I said, and get out on a hunt with them, and be a sponge, be an absolute sponge for what's going on in that hunt. I said, and then you're going to realize whether you're going to really enjoy and doing it, and look at the resources required to do it. Right. So I've sent a few guys your way.
We appreciate it. So
for sure. I know they've hunted with you, man. I know they had a good time. So.
And you touch on a good subject there. Like, when you're paying for that guide service, two things. Like, number one, watch what they're doing, listen to them. It's going to help you improve as a hunter, because, like, I'm getting out 3 or 4 days a week right now. Josh is getting out 7 days a week for the whole fall. He's seeing more situations. He's into more stuff, knows his shit, right? Those are the guys that you want to kind of listen and learn when you're out there. Still have the hunt, like, but listen and learn, and listen how he's, you know, when he changes his tone, when he's calling and all that other shit. Like, listen to Josh, ask him questions. He's going to be open with you. Absolutely. But the other thing too is, like, when we're using a guide service, I didn't mean it to come across as a mean thing about the under 30s, but those guys are still in their infancy of hunting right now. They're still like, hey, I can do all this stuff, right? But when you want to venture out and, like, hey, I want to go hunt Lake St. Clair. Hey, I want to go hunt snow geese I want to go hunt Long Point. Like, spend the money, have someone that knows his shit, right? I can go down to Lake St. Clair. It's going to take me 2 days to find the birds, and then I'm going to have a good hunt the third day, and I'm going to spend a hotel anyway to be down there. Or I can go with one of the guides that are out there that I know, who's watching the birds every single day and knows where they are, and have 3 good days of hunting. So there's a very good use of going out to these guides and outfitters. I didn't want it to come across as being like
no.
30-year-olds. You know, I'm just
No, and I don't think it came across that way. I think it came across as though those, you know, the under 30 are mostly the newer generation that's getting into it. Listen, we have a chat group going on next week, and we're holding our annual hunt weekend, and we have a group chat going on, and we've got, you know, 16 people, and every one of them's got a different level of experience. And I'm not a goose hunter. I don't know how to hunt geese. And what little bit I do know, I learned from hunting with Ryan and Mark and Jason Sear and Peter Hetfield. And it's very limited. And on this chat group that we have for this, every day there's a question about how to set up for geese. And it's all from these fellas that are, they're trying their best to get out, hunt, with the limited amount of money and resources that they have, and they're trying to figure it out. And that is the one thing. And Dave, you touched on it with Josh. Like, if you're out and you're out with a guide, listen, ask him why he's doing that. Why is he setting the decoys that way? Why are you facing the blind this way with the wind? Why are we doing a side shoot today? Why aren't we doing it with the wind in our back? It's up to you to ask those. The guides will tell you. I haven't had a ton of experience with guides, but every one that I have, they're an open book. There's no secret spells. There's no magic book that the guides are all holding on to. They'll tell you. And at the end of the day, and Josh, you can attest to this, some days they're just not going to work for you.
Yeah, some days they can really humble you a lot of days. So.
Absolutely.
If you put a big picture of things, you put it. If you went out and shot a limit every single day of your life for the entire season, there wouldn't be nothing left. So every so often these things need a win, and they get a win. And when they do, it really brings you back to reality. Like, you might go on a streak of shooting limits for 20 days straight, and all of a sudden, okay, hey, now something changed, and you can't barely bag one in. Well, that's the cold reality of it. At the if it wasn't hunting, if it wasn't just hunting, if it was killing, there wouldn't be anything left for us. So
and everybody would do it. If it was just killing, if it was simple to just grab your gun and go out and fill your freezer, everybody to be doing it.
Yeah, like I don't wish those bad days on anybody. Like I said, doing it long enough now, like, to put it into retrospect here, when I met Dave, I had hair down to my shoulders, and now I don't a hell of a lot left. So it's it went away real quick. I can
please tell me at 14 you were rocking a mullet. Please tell me.
At 14, see, I was a metalhead at 14.
But he was 14, and what? How old are you now?
32.
Yeah, so he was 14. Friggin' a very much more recent time than us.
But no, like I said, a metalhead, like it was down to shoulder length here, and the front part I could pull down to here. It was just a big set of hair. And then the Canada Goose comes along, and it just kind of starts going out every which way. So
You're
Mom, I hate my black t-shirts. I want a goose t-shirt. Fuck.
I guess, and I honestly, this is God's honest truth. There's been so many days, whether it's birds or guys, it doesn't matter, where things get a little rough, and you don't freak out, but you take the hat off and you do one of those, and I swear to God, I've rubbed it out over the years. So.
That's awesome. Josh, buddy, we're almost at that 60-minute mark, and there's one thing that I want to give you the opportunity, give you some airtime to do. Actually, I've got two things, but the first, I want to give you the opportunity, just for anybody that don't know, and I'll do a prelude to this in the fact of, listen, everybody that you come across, these guides, they're human fucking beings. They're not God, and they can't control shit. They can't control the weather. They can't control the birds. So, as a guide, you must come across every walk of life that's imaginable. If you were to give advice to anybody and to put it out to our millions and millions of listeners, I like how you laughed at that. That's awesome.
No, I got thinking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson there when he was a wrestler, right? The millions and millions of the Rock fans.
You're the first person to get it, by the way.
Yeah, you are the first. Yeah, you are the very first person to get it. But if you had advice to throw out there to anybody that's never ever been to a guide, or even people that have been to the guide but they've been douchebags, what advice would you give to anybody on managing expectations?
Managing expectations. Look at it as, and this, I mean, this, you can't say this for every guide service, but do your research on who you go with. Do your research. And like I said, there is a lot of good outfitters in Ontario, but do a bit of research. Talk to somebody or a couple guys that have had good trips there. When you book that trip, go into it with an open mind. The guides there, and most guides are really good. They are. And these guys, you know, they're running 7 days a week. You know, they're drained, absolutely drained. Be respectful of the guide, but have fun. Like, you're there to have fun. You know, it's a goose. It's a goose. At the end of the day, it's a goose. Go in it with an open mind, an open book. And if you're new to it, absorb, like you were saying earlier, try to absorb absolutely everything you can and just witness the whole thing in a nutshell. Like I said, at the end of it, there's no difference, you know, really, when we go goose hunting, it's no different than the next guy that goes goose hunting for the first part, or for the most part. But we do it, we just do it a lot more and have just learned a lot over the years. So I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of feel like I got sidetracked on things there, but no, go into it with an open mind and just appreciate everything and have fun. So, but do your research. Main thing is do your research.
I think the main thing he was trying to touch on there is they're fucking birds. If they don't work, if the weather, don't go leave a nasty review on your guide or outfitter's page. Like, give it another chance. If the guide was polite and kind and tried to make the best of the situation, that's what you're paying for there. Like, they are animals. You can't control the animal. You can only do your best job, and they're putting the best job forward. So,
no, yeah, let's not, truth, right? Yeah, let's not kid ourselves. Like, there is the possibility that you will come across an asshole guide out there that's lazy, that doesn't want to do the work. Mark, I'm pretty sure you can tell us some stories on that. That doesn't want to do the work and is just expecting a paycheck at the end of it, right? But if you sit back and you watch what the guide is doing, the things that he's provided you, a clean, and this is what I look for now. Am I sleeping in a good bed? Because I'm old and that's the most important thing to me right now is sleep. Am I sleeping in a good bed? Am I going to get fed? And is there birds in the area? That's all I care about. If the birds don't work, there's nothing I can do. And unless the guide's out in the middle of the field in a blaze orange suit, I really not gonna.
I've seen it.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure you have. But that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to listen. Manage your expectations. It's birds that. Oh, sorry, Mark. You probably got something really important to say.
No. Finish what you're saying, and then I'll jump in.
It's birds, and the birds are dependent on the weather, just like you are dependent on the weather. So just manage your expectations. Don't listen. If the guide's shit, then go for it. If the guide is shit, go for it. Let people know so nobody else wastes their money. But make sure that you're saying the guide is shit because the guide's shit, not because the birds didn't work for you, because that's two totally different things.
Or because some asshole went and shot the roost at first light.
That's right. Right. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Oh yeah, and another thing to add to that for anybody who's going with guides or just waterfowl hunting with your buddies in general, no band is worth your friendship.
Absolutely.
So don't fuck with my band.
My dog retrieved it. My band. I was so hoping the weekend that we were going, because the weekend we hunted and I really never shot. I just ran my dog, right? And then Mark and another buddy of mine of ours was doing the shooting. So I was hoping, because I didn't even pick my gun up. I was just hoping that my dog would have retrieved a duck that had a band on it. And I would have been like, my dog retrieved it, my band, just so I could see the look on the face. But anyways, I digress.
You see any good arguments over bands, Josh?
I I seen a guy cry the one time because there was two buddies into a fight over this band, and one guy just picked up his gun and shot the band off. He said, "Screw it!" Just blew the band apart by shooting it, and the other, he broke down crying.
Hey,
No
I've,
band
I've,
with a friendship.
hey, no, absolutely, and no dollar is worth of friendship either. And Dave and I have talked at length on that. Josh, buddy, your chance right now. Open mic, you have it. Pump up SLO, St. Lawrence Outfitters, for the millions of fans that are listening. If you don't know about it, Josh, here you go.
No, I mean, you guys really kind of pumped up my tires and us here pretty good tonight. But no, all I can really say is that the only reason we are in business and today, Dave running his business, is our reputation as a business. He's done just an incredible job of running it. The guys he's hired over the years, like I've seen guys come and go. And the crew that he's always hired is everybody's respectful. In all honesty, I'm probably the worst guy that he's got. Everybody is an extremely good goose hunter. Nicest guys you probably ever meet. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I could get a little testy at times, but a lot of those days are gone. But every one of us is good. We're there to have a good time as much as you are. And yeah, like I said, the only reason we're in business is because of our reputation. So
absolutely, and that's pretty simple. I like it. Mark.
Good talking to you again, Josh.
Hey, you as well, buddy.
It was good to meet you at a time you did drop by. And I do.
You have a nice house, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Hey, ask him about his yard. How was his
Ask him
yard?
about the landscaping.
Hey, what's going on? I heard you have landscaping in your yard, Mark.
We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time here to get into that. And if you ask 100 true landscapers, what would a good landscaping job be? Yeah. This wouldn't be it.
Not the guy you got.
I heard it looks good now.
What?
I heard it looks good now.
It's coming along. It's not there. And
after Mark had to go rent the skid steer.
And spend a week and a half raking and reseeding and other stuff. But that's all meh. But anyways, Josh, it was good seeing you again. Great chatting. This is a great show, and I'm glad you came on. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate it. This was, like I said, I don't think, I mean, in the longevity of SLO, we've never done, like I said, we don't do a whole lot of social media stuff anymore or any sort of this stuff. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time we done anything. So, buddy,
I've sent Dave so many emails.
He was saying.
But I get it, right? Because he is busy, and listen, like, it's taking an hour or 2 hours to come on here. That's an hour or 2 hours that he could be scouting or looking after a client, or I get it. So I'm not mad by no means. It's just, it's funny because it's taken so long to get somebody on, and that's a testament of you guys and of what you do, right? Dave.
Yeah.
Josh, thanks for coming on. It's good to meet you.
You as well.
Hopefully we actually get a hunt together one day, but it's been 2 years ago was the second time I almost came up and it just didn't work out again, but we'll see hopefully soon.
For everyone listening, maybe third time's the charm. So
yeah, third time's the charm. For everyone listening, when Damien was talking about that chat group that we have going on, it's just for the little hunt that we've got going on next weekend. If you guys are looking for advice or tips on decoy setups, stuff like that, join the Real Geese Decoys fan page. I can promise you that if you don't have an answer from someone better than me within 24, 48 hours, I will get you that answer on that page. Real Geese Decoys fan page on Facebook will help you out there as well.
Awesome. You know what? I think we need to I'm going to send Dave. Dave will answer this email. I'm sure of it. let's plan a spring goose hunt. I know, and it drives me because I know those fuckers are gonna get me. Like I know it because they've got me 2 years in a row now. So, anyways, but I think that's something we need to do. Mark and Dave, we'll plan a snow goose hunt. Come down and do a hunt with the boys and probably do a show and the whole bit. And not that SLO needs the publicity, but Punisher Waterfowl. Punisher Waterfowl does.
Shot by then.
Yeah. Hey,
have all a duck season to kind of learn how to shoot again.
Yeah. Josh, buddy, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and I really, really mean it. For the simple reason that you're local and you're here and you're doing your thing and you're providing such a wonderful, wonderful experience to so many people across Canada, well, all of North America. I know people that are coming from the States here within the next couple of weeks. They're coming up to hunt with you guys. And just because of those names, it's a testament of exactly who you are and what the good things that you guys do and the hard work that you put into putting guys and girls on birds. So I can't thank you enough. I'm speaking on behalf of Dave and Mark and Phil and Ryan, who aren't here. And they would have had a ton of questions. I wish Ryan could have been here with you tonight, because he would have had, you and him would have probably went back and forth for ages. So, buddy, thank you so much. I hope that once this season's over, I won't bug you anymore this season. But when the season's over, I'll be bugging you again to come back on and have a chat and talk about the season, how everything went. And then because I like knowing a little bit about the science of things and how things are working. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on a few things at the end of the season. So love to have you back on, and I hope you answer the email once again, just like you did this time.
I had a lot of fun then, so I'm sure I'll be back. So
thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Everybody, this was episode 69 of the Union 430.
It's fitting that I got 69.
I know. I want to make a big deal over this. I really, really do. I want to make a big deal over 69.
You know what's I don't know if I should. You know what's better than 69, right?
Yeah. What?
77. You get 8 more.
Ooh, I like it. Well done.
You're welcome, boys.
Tip your hat to that one.
Yeah. Well done. This was episode 69 of the Union 0430. Listen, we are not clear of Josh, because Josh is an expert. We are not experts. We are a group of friends that love talking to other waterfowl hunters, and we love talking about shooting birds. Listen, we don't pretend to be anything. We are honest to God, just a bunch of dudes that love talking about shooting birds. With that, hope that you enjoyed the show. Hope that you're going to listen in on the next episode, because it's going to be a doozy. We got Jeff Coates coming on next week. Big love, everybody. Until next time.